Hey there, so today I want to return with an object lesson. This one is from comic books, but it could be attached to any company out there. I think gaming companies, comic companies, anime companies, and on, they need to take heed of this lesson too. Because this is what happens when you allow people that represent you to denigrate customers. When you allow people to go out and to say, we don't really need you. When you stop listening to feedback from people saying, yeah, your products, they aren't that good. Yep, this is the road. It may be paved with specific intentions, but hey, we know how that always turns out. So last year, IDW, the fourth largest publisher of comic books, they had a trash fire of a year. A company that was worth $49 million at the beginning of the year ended with a value of around $16 million. When everything was said and done, they had managed to lose around $36 million that year. And well, it appears that year it's going to keep on keeping on. This stuff has been so bad too, let me just say, that they have turned over almost everyone. Major stockholders, they're panicking. This company is trading at about half of what it is. Like I said, it is an enormous trash fire. And well, it just keeps on consuming. So if you go into this statement right away, you'll notice, again, these are their statements. IDW Media Holding, you can go look them up on your own if you're so inclined. If you go into their net income for the year, you'll notice this 6 months here. We have 3 months, 6 months, so we're at the halfway mark. If you go down there, you'll notice, ooh, $7.8 million. Sounds good, right? Until you notice those little brackets. Wait, those little brackets, they mean loss. So the company's net income so far this year is negative $7.839 million. Again, a company with a worth of around $16 million so far. They are just hemorrhaging money. If you look at how that's hitting their per shares, oh man, I mean, they are a mess. Now, the way that this sets up, it's really fascinating because most companies, we can't look at it this way. Most companies are too big to examine, like say a Marvel or say a DC. You can't tell what's causing them to have issues. With a company like this, however, you can see their equity. You can actually see basically what they've done with their shares, how they're trying to basically make money, what they've been borrowing and on. One of the things, if you look at debt, for example, one of the scary things for them is what's going to come due, or future maturities. 04/30/2020, they've got about $19,500,000 coming in. They actually had about that this year, but I guess they have shuffled it off to something else. Yeah, again, when you think about the value of the company, when this comes due, if you're bleeding money, if you're losing about, I don't know, $4 million a quarter, you're not going to be able to pay that. You can't even make money. I don't know how you keep the doors open. I definitely don't know how you keep this going. Now, if you look at the breakdown of this, we actually get the breakdown of everything. That means that the company, when we look at how it's set up, we actually understand the way that publishing arm sets up, the way that their other arms set up. Basically, they're divided into three components. The thing that I like looking at is the publishing arm, or IDWP. Now, IDWP here, you can look at exactly how much money they're making. And remember, with this, we're talking about comics and games. So you're going to have that broken down. Games, they don't make up a lot of this, but yeah, I mean, when you look at it, man, what a mess. So 2019 so far, we are talking about a negative $3.1 million so far in 6 months. That went from, in 2018, a negative $1.7 million, or a increase, negative 79.2%. Can you imagine running a company like this? Now, this talks about the why and the what for. IDW publishing revenue decreased by $1.532 million in the 6 months ended compared to the 6 months ended from last year. The components of this decrease included a decrease in publishing revenue of $890,000, principally due to declines across all markets, offset by a decrease in book market returns, as well as the timing of significant major brand title releases. Now, the way that they put that, it always sounds like this. They basically try to blame something. Really, you've got to blame something out there. So what are you going to say? Oh, well, we're going to launch something bigger and badder. And, well, we didn't launch it right here. Or we launched something, and, well, it ate up all of this cost. The one thing that you're not adding into that is you're not adding revenue. You're not making any money here. IDWP games revenue also decreased. Now that's a heck of a hit there by $552,000 due to the timing of new releases. Major game releases in fiscal year 2019 will occur in the second half of the year. IDW Publishing experienced a decrease in licensing and royalty revenue of $174,000, largely related to one-time projects in 2018, a decrease in digital publishing of $25,000, offset by an increase in creative services revenue of $112,000 related to custom projects and other net revenue changes of $3,000. So, out of all of that, they did have some positive, but wow, you really had to dig for it, didn't you? You really had to dig for it. Now, the thing that should scare people in this is the direct cost of revenue. Because if you look at this, if you're associated with this company, you're talking about not only printing expenses, but also the cost of artists and writers. The direct cost of revenues decreased in the 3 and 6 months ended compared to 3 and 6 months ended by $370,000. That would be in 3 months, or $752,000 respectively, primarily as a result of related changes in revenue levels and product mix in the respective periods. If you look at that, though, you figure it this way. What you're talking about is printing costs and costs of artists. Well, if that's decreasing, then think about that being less jobs, less payment to people. You're having problems there. If that's eating away, well, yeah, it's going to eat away at people's jobs. You also see this carry over to other fields here. You can see salaries and benefit decreases. For example, selling, general, and administrative expenses increased by almost $600,000 there in 6 months, compared to the 6 months ended, primarily to increases in overhead allocation of $585,000, non-cash compensation expenses offset by decreases in salaries and benefits and other net changes of $16,000. So if you look at that, again, that has a human cost associated with it. Now, the most frustrating thing about IDW through all of this is that people ask IDW to change. When they did that, they were insulted and repeatedly, because IDW, they were doing great for the longest time. Then they decided, again, that it was okay to allow their people to go and insult consumers, that they would ignore them, that in fact they would allow people to go and antagonize those consumers. And you know what? Their numbers show it. I mean, if you look at their sales over the last few years, they can barely move 5,000 units of something, and that's moving it to a store. When you figure a 40% carryover from there, yeah, they have some real issues. Now, when you look at IDWE, this is their entertainment sector. This is the way that pretty much they had been aiming. A lot of places, they try to go with intellectual property, and well, if you look at that, that's been a trash fire for them too. They're having problems all over the board. For the 6 months ended for April 30th, 2019, revenues decreased by $5,798,000 compared to the same period last year. Revenues for the first 2 quarters of the current fiscal year pertain primarily to video on-demand rentals and EST buys, where the prior year revenues included domestic and international licensing television rights. For the 6 months ended April 30th, 2019, IDWE's reduction in revenue consisted of lower domestic television licensing of $3.146 million and foreign licensing of $2.652 million. Again, you see a company that has gone out and they've tried to diversify even more. They want to move away from comics because if you look at their numbers, comic book numbers, they become worse and worse and worse. Well, just like a Marvel, just like a DC, they try to put everything into the intellectual property basket. But this is what small companies look like. There's a lot more in this too. And in fact, I would encourage you to go out and check this stuff out because it tells you the story of what exactly happens when your company, it forgets the people that make it profitable. Because when you need that bailout, when your intellectual property game falls off, they're not there anymore. That should be a lesson to companies like Marvel. I mean, they make money hand over fist right now because of movies, but one day people will get tired of origin stories. They'll get tired of 20 connective stories. One day those characters, they'll be just like something like Star Wars. They will not sell as well too. Then you have a problem. Then what do you do? But anyhow, you tell me what you think about this trash fire. So if you like this kind of content, make sure that you sub. Make sure that you hit that bell for daily notifications. And if you want to go further, you're under no obligation to do so. But if you want to, check out those links in the description. One of those, of course, is The Case of the Littlest Umbrella. In demand, basically 2 comics here to check out with one message. We don't have to listen to gatekeepers. Also, because people were asking about it, we put together selections with an Etsy store so you can get some prints, a few limited edition cards there that were left over from Anime Matsuri because, well, happenstance allowed you to get a few of those, so you better get them before they go. Let me know what you think about everything that went on in the video, too. Let me know what you think about the madness, losing money, and what could have stopped it, and, well, what kind of lesson this is as well. Ending, I want to thank you. You make these endeavors possible. These people obviously forgot that. When I look at the lesson that they give, they basically make a roadmap to failure. You want to be the opposite of that, and well, you do that by remembering who makes everything possible. That's you. So I want to thank you. I appreciate you, and we'll do that again very soon. Thanks.